We're sitting here, the green room of Water Avenue Coffee. Take two.
Take two.
Hopefully,
Click.
snap, with Brandon Smyth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to have a chat about coffee. So, Water Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Talked before about, we're on Water Avenue, so that kind of explains the name, but what's in the name?
We wanted to come up with something, utilitarian. Kind of. Well, that's not exactly true. We went through a bunch of names, and none of them seemed to work with everybody.
What were some of the...
I don't even want to discuss
okay.
Some of the names were.
Fair enough.
They range from really bad to really good to it just took one person to, go, oh, I think that implicates this. And we'd be like, oh, yeah, okay. So, it's kind of a process. And we're like, well, we'll just name it Water Avenue so people know where to go. Unfortunately, people go, where on Water Avenue? We should have named it Water Avenue and Southeast Taylor Street Coffee Company. And then that would have made a little more sense. But when we first got down here, there's not a bunch down here except for OMSI. And over the past, this is our third year, so we've had a lot of people move in. We've had Bunk Sandwiches move in next door, and Bokeh Bowl ramen place that's just been blown up move in. And so where there was once tumbleweeds, there's now tow trucks. And, it's, hard to get down here. We're next to Kova, which is nice. So when people come, and Stumptown's new roastery followed me down here. We can, when people go on tours of Portland, they can, come down to the Southeast Industrial District, and it's kind of like the new coffee district, which is weird.
Yeah.
When I was driving home the other day, I smelled coffee nearly the entire drive home.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. There was this guy who, during SCAA, came in from the UK, and he was like, you guys have more roasters here in your city than we do in our entire country.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Portland is a very curious coffee place. Coming from Seattle, where it's dominated hugely by Starbucks.
Yeah.
There are locations in Seattle where there are 4 Starbucks within a block.
Yeah.
And that's kind of drives the perception of coffee.
Yeah.
There are a number of small roasters, but it seems like Portland's a step past that. Like, Stumptown drives the conversation, and Stumptown is...
Yeah, I think it moved from Seattle to Portland, and I think Portland is still up there, but, there's a lot of other places in the world that are doing cool things, in Korea and Australia, definitely. And, New York City, of course, is on the bandwagon. But, it's all coming from here, I believe. That's what I think. Is that we're setting a standard and everyone else is catching up.
It seems like the perception of specialty coffee is certainly different. I notice you all tend to roast, like if we look on a spectrum of light to dark, y'all tend to stay in the light area. Yeah. And that seems like pretty accepted around Portland.
Which, strangely enough, yeah. So, with certain demographics, I'd say, people, like my dad's age, I'm really surprised that they take to it. But it's, it's where coffee should be roasted. I personally believe, there is a sweet spot for every single coffee. And a lot of it isn't where traditionally in the United States people have taken it. For a number of reasons, people roast it dark. Mostly for cost and age of coffee. So when we have something that's a fresh crop and really special, we take it to not exactly light, not exactly dark. It's actually roasted perfectly in our eyes. But in comparison to the rest of the U.S., it is light.
Yeah, you were talking about the tendency to go dark in order to cover up poor quality or other defects or whatnot.
Age. Defects, yeah.
And you guys, you work directly with farmers. How much of your coffee is direct trade?
Almost
all of it.
Nearly all. Yeah, I'd say 80%.
It's pretty impressive. I'm sitting on some very, very large, heavy bags.
Yeah. Some have disappeared since our last.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have been churning through it.
Yeah. We have a very small space, and we produce a lot of coffee, and so we have to stay pretty organized, and frankly, I'm surprised it works. It's just like you wouldn't expect, a couple thousands of pounds of coffee to leave this cafe every day, but it does.
Wow.
Yeah.
And let's see, the roaster you guys have upstairs, 18 kilo roaster.
Yeah.
So not too large, I guess.
No, and we most of the single origins we roast at only 10 kilos at a time. The blends, like for espresso, are 12, just because we like to slow it down. But it's not even at full capacity. But you're not supposed to really do that anyhow.
Right.
You're never supposed to put 20 kilos in a 20 kilo. It's a sales pitch. I think.
Fair enough. So, Water Avenue, how did it begin? What was the impetus before you were?
Yeah, I was roasting at Stumptown, and felt like doing something new. I'd been there a very, very long time. Wanted to change, wanted to do something on my own, do something adventurous. So I talked to Matt and Matt Mileto, who owns the
American Baristas,
Barista and Coffee School. Yeah. And they're right next door to us, which is a great help because it's like a huge lab for us, and then we train our wholesale accounts there. But I was talking with him, and I gave him enough beer for him to approach his father, Bruce, to even consider it, buying a roaster and starting it. And apparently he'd always wanted to do it, so it just slowly fell into place. I didn't think it was really going to go anywhere, and it did, and so we got a 1974 Samiac French machine, which I had no experience on, from the Swiss Alps, and then it arrived in a crate very late, and I had to completely rebuild it. Yeah. It was not as advertised. I'll just say it like that.
A bunch of pieces.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to be done on this thing, and it said it was in perfect condition. But, I learned a lot about French engineering, which is very odd, but sort of unique. And a lot about three-phase electricity and airflow, and put a lot of, different gadgets, and I can control my airflow very well on the machine, and we have to go up 2 stories, so we have an afterburner on the roof plus a fan control. So we have 2 different ways of controlling our airflow, which is a big part of roasting.
So that's the input and exhaust.
Yeah,
both 2 stories up from the roof.
Yeah, both variable.
Yeah.
So we have control during the months of the year that change. And the ambient heat of what's next to a roaster gets hotter.
Right.
You don't have to roast as much, and and if it's more humid, I just had this conversation with a roaster who's having trouble. If there's less humidity in the air, there's less water for the beans to compete with, so you actually roast faster. And sometimes you'll be dumbfounded. This is a crazy craft where you are always not only testing yourself, but you're always pushing yourself. And anyhow, so we got that set up. We got it working. The funniest part about the setup was one day, I got the thing running, and I'd been working in the garage at my house on a Probatino nearly 24 hours a day trying to fulfill 2 accounts.
Wow.
So yeah, I was doing like 60 pounds output on a 1.5 kilo.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Tiny thing.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah. it was interesting because I got to really understand certain coffees, but it was a pain in the neck. But when I got the big guy going, I was just like, oh my god, here we go. 20 pounds at a time. Yeah, I was just like, I was freaking out.
Yeah.
But one day, without letting me know, the electrician had switched the polarity of the three-phase motors, or the three-phase plug. So the drum actually spun backwards.
What?
So you wouldn't be able to tell, once you put the coffee in the hopper, until, I was done. I was like, all right, here we go, ready to go, dropping the batch, and nothing came out. Because it's corkscrewed, to come out the front. So it was going reverse. It was corkscrewed, and I look inside, and I just see this, ocean of coffee just sitting back there. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? So I'm like, all right, not to panic here. I just turned everything off. I just kind of let it go to French and just waited for it to cool down. Right. And, that was my first blown batch. And I think I've only had one other one here. Mm-hmm. Knock on plastic. But knock on canvas. Yeah, so the build out was a huge process here because we ended up we moved into a blank space, and then the first year was really, really difficult because the seed prices went crazy, and that's how we got started.
Mm-hmm. The space looks beautiful upstairs. What inspired you to that sort of design?
That's sort of ad hoc. That's sort of as we went. We wanted something big. We wanted something open. We definitely wanted some room for production. It's getting a little tight right now, but most of it has been done this past year, and we've just been lucky enough to run into people who have done really good jobs with cafes in the past.
Did you start the cafe around the same time as the roasting as well?
Yeah, we did.
So it was all at once.
All at once, yeah. So when we opened up, too, also Kova and Hart opened up. So all of a sudden, there was.
What do you think started? It seems like it was Stumptown, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah. I think
specialty everywhere.
I think what happened was, it's just like Voodoo Donuts, where it was a special thing, where it was almost like a secret. Stumptown was so unique, and it still is, and I still love it to death, and I love, Dwayne's vision of that company and how he put it together, but it was such a phenomenon that if you carried it, that meant you were cool. Right. Mm-hmm. Or, you were on the level. Yeah. Now, if everyone carried it in town, it sort of lost that appeal.
Lose a bit of magic.
Yeah, you lose a bit of the glitter there. And so I think we all realized that, and we didn't even know we were all planning this at the same time, but we all kind of jumped ship and decided to offer other options. And, I was a little worried about it, but going into it, I realized it's a lot like the beer scene here, where I don't think you could make enough beer. People here, you can't make enough beer or coffee here. Mm-hmm. People are going to go around to different places and try different things. People are experimental in Portland. So that, I think, would work here. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it would work anywhere else. Mm-hmm. But, we've all been successful. There's plenty of room for everybody. Mm-hmm. Is my attitude.
Okay, so the design upstairs. I've noticed one of the first things I noticed coming into Portland, visiting Water Avenue and Hart especially, is the roaster is right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is the first situation where I've come into a cafe that's a roaster and you roast right in front of customers.
So the history behind that is Dwayne worked at Lighthouse in Seattle. Mm-hmm. They have their roaster up on a pedestal.
Oh, okay.
He borrowed that idea, put it in the first Stumptown. Uh-huh. It's a great idea. You interact with the customers. You talk about the coffee. You talk about the roast. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know that, from our vantage point, we can't see where this comes from. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a lot different when you're at a farm. You can almost see Portland and see the whole chain. But from here, it's like this magic thing. One woman once asked me if coffee was related to black beans, like food. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm like, no. So there's a lot of, you know, the cool thing about it is you get to educate people. You get to talk to people. You get a lot of regulars. You get, you know, people who are excited about your new coffees. And then, you know, I tried to bring that, but also kind of keep it a little bit separate. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to roast with kids running around and people actually being able to walk up to the machine. And
it's pretty up in your face and heart. Separate a bit here, but it seems like that would really open the door for people to ask to learn more, but not necessarily need to.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think what happens is the people who are interested and the people you want, you know, to talk to you. Mm-hmm. You know, and it breaks it down more walls. Mm-hmm. It goes, oh, okay. Wow, I had no idea it took, you know, so little time to roast coffee, or I didn't know it took that long to roast coffee, or right. you know, I didn't even know it was a seed type of deal. And then, you know, the longer people come in, the more they learn. And soon, you know, they really understand the process and critique it.
So. Do you get a lot of that? A lot of people?
Well, now, you know, once in a while I'll get you know, I can't say anything bad about home roasters because they just impress me. But they also have a lot to offer me in advice, and it's a different world when you're in a commercial production versus air popper.
Seems kind of like couch coaching.
Yeah.
Hi, dudes.
Hey, guys.
Guys.
I'm seeing double. No, this is Alan. This is our roaster.
Alan, what are you scooping there?
This is Brazil. This is the San Francisco.
Right, and that's what's the farmer's name here?
Sergio's is the import. The farmer came in week before last.
Was it the farmer who makes surprise visits, or Sergio?
Sergio, but Sergio knows, like, he works with all the farmers that he imports, and he does he delivers the coffee, which is great. But he wants to check up on us, make sure we're doing this right, because this is a 13 bag lot, which is very small for Brazil. 13 bags, period.
Oh, bags.
Yeah. And
that's produced in
Brazil. So that's a micro lot, really, for a Brazilian, like.
So that's 13 bags produced
from one farm.
From one farm, just over a certain period of time, and that's it. That's all they've done.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So
pretty tiny.
Yeah, he likes to check up on us, make sure we're not blowing it, because you know he knows how hard it is to produce that. You know, it's not easy.
And so for a lot that, like, physically, how big is that lot? I'm just curious.
Physically?
Yeah, like.
So that's a 3, 6, 8, 10. So you know we're missing 3 bags. That's it.
I mean, like the farm itself, like that it comes from.
Well, you know, that depends.
Yeah.
It could be a large farm, but this particular lot is Mocha, Screen, Brabone.
Okay.
So, you know, he probably had different screen sizes, so he probably had more production in the larger screen sizes, you know, from, you know, probably 14, 15. So he probably exported more than just this.
Okay.
But this particular lot, that's all there was.
Okay.
And this cupped out way better than the other ones. So, yeah, and it's also Brazil. Mm-hmm. And for me to say it cupped out really well it's just unusual for me to say, because to me they all seem to taste very similar.
The Brazils.
Mm-hmm. This one though has got a lot of acidity, a lot of punch. It tastes like a Bourbon.
I've noticed Brazil seems to be. Well, I don't know if it's popular in Portland, but all the Brazils I've had that have been excellent have been from Portland. Yeah. I don't know why that is.
I think we buy the really the good fancy stuff. Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot produced there, and there used to be a really big Brazilian exporter or importer here. He went back to Brazil, but there's also that influence. He specialized in microlots, and I think we all kind of caught that bug and know that there is some availability of some special stuff there. So yeah.
When you say screen size, what does that mean?
That's the size of the seed.
Size of the seed. Okay.
Yeah, it's separated by screen size.
Interesting.
Mocha being the smallest. Okay. Mocha is usually used for the varietal mocha, which is very small. But it's under pea berry.
I can see that. I mean, that suggests to me that seed size has a significant impact on flavor and the resultant.
Yeah. Well, I've had experiences both ways with that. Mm-hmm. I've had some pea berry. The typical thinking is pea berry has got the entire cherry to itself. Mm-hmm. It's going to absorb all the flavor, and it's going to absorb all the acidity, and it's going to be a lot better than the others. But in practical terms and cupping, I don't know if I'm 100% on board with that. I've never really. Now that I know more about production, it may be it grows slower. So there may be more acidity to it, but it's definitely not because it doesn't share anything with another seed.
Right. Yeah. So I was chatting with a friend yesterday, and he asked me because I showed him. You handed me one of those longberry seeds.
Yeah.
Which I thought, and I'm gonna, if I remember where I put it, I'm gonna take a picture of that next to, like, I don't know, a regular.
Yeah, like a bourbon
or something like that. But he asked me why does he sometimes see like tiny seeds? And I guess it's something I've noticed as well is that the seeds in the coffee roasted in Portland tend to be tinier more often versus larger like elsewhere. And I mean maybe that just goes back to y'all picking the better lots.
Well, that there might be some to that. I think also we don't over roast. So let's say you take coffee to French, right? You take that same coffee and you roast it light. If you put it side by side in a bag, in a 12-ounce bag, 12 ounces, you'll have a small bag and a big bag, because as the longer the coffee goes and the longer it roasts, the more it expands. I would assume that if what he's observing is just that we're roasting it a little bit lighter.
Okay.
Yeah. They're tighter.
Yeah.
So also, they won't have as much oil. Still the same amount of oil's in there. It just takes longer to get out.
Right.
But yeah, I've had the same questions. It's like, why are French roast bags huge? I think sometimes that's why people buy French roasts. They go, "Wow, look at the savings here."
Yeah.
And they don't realize it's just air and carbon. But I think that's probably it.
That's what the chip bags do. It's half air.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Totally.
And your
same deal.
Chips. Yeah.
Well, I found out just the other day Oreo double stuff.
Yeah.
Not quite double. No, it's 1.8. We're getting ripped off. So.
Oh, I saw a picture online of someone. It was a Snickers. There was a regular Snickers, and then there was a 2X Snickers. But they put them side by side, and the 2 Snickers in one was more like 1.5. Anyways.
Oh no, I've seen that. Yeah. And then you get the king size, and then there's no really regulation on what a king is.
Right.
So, no, I take my candy very seriously, and man, I hate getting gypped.
All right. Coffee.
Yeah.
So, totally side note, since we're talking about candy, do you have any, is your coffee used in any chocolate or any chocolate makers around here?
Kapow bars. We've done a bunch of varietals with Sagoon. we do a lollipop with Saint Cupcake.
Okay.
Who does more and more candy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking. I'm looking to start roasting cacao as well. So
interesting.
I've always wanted to be a chocolatier because it sounds like you should be able to carry a weapon. And, but a friend of mine brought in a container full of Peruvian coffee, quinoa, and cacao.
Huh.
And the cacao is just amazing.
Yeah.
And Samyak, the machine we have, is really coveted for roasting chocolate.
So
interesting. It's a different type of roast. It's a longer roast, but I'm going to experiment around a bit with making some chocolate.
It's cool to me that the chocolate is produced very similarly to coffee.
Yeah, there's also the same sort of thing going on where there's very unique varietals of it that there's a lot of coffee plantations actually in Guatemala that people have given up on with chocolate. And it's gone wild and it's done really amazing stuff. And so the cacao you get out of that is just insane. Some of it's white, like some of it's just mind-blowing. Yeah. A lot of it now is being kind of standardized GMO'd. Yeah. Because it's it's a tropical plant. And right now the tropics are due to whatever, global warming or, just
temperature changes,
sun
environmental,
getting,
whatever.
UFOs. Like things are changing and it's harder and harder to get a consistent crop and people want more and more of it around the world. So there's some similarities, for sure.
I might have to make a chocolate lovers magazine next.
Oh man. I know some places where you could buy a chocolate farm too. That blow your head off. Real cheap.
So we were talking a little earlier about the openness of the cafe up there and how you can connect more with people about the process and everything. Yeah. And then you have this wonderful position where you work directly with your farmers. Yeah. And you even have some come and visit sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, are you able to bridge that connection, like bring like people a greater understanding of
we tried. When we've had numerous farmers come up and basically cup with the public or just even hang out with the public. Yeah. And I'll just be like, hey, that guy over there grew this. And a lot of times people think I'm joking. And I'm like, no, seriously, that guy there, he put this together. And it just seems like such a world away that it stuns it number one, I think it stuns people here to think that these are such small farms and that the farmers really don't grow that much for specialty coffee. And then I think also the farmers are stunned at the price of coffee when it gets here. Yeah. They're really surprised.
Are they surprised that it's low or high?
High.
High?
Okay. Yeah.
Because I look at it and I'm like, there's 50,000 people between the coffee growing and it coming to a cup.
Yeah.
Well, it's only...
Well, the coffee we get from those regions is the top shelf, and they drink the not so top shelf, and it's very inexpensive, and we have to pay for everything in between, and by the time it gets here, they're kind of like, oh my god, but I think that's a natural reaction to whenever anyone visits the United States.
I can see that.
Yeah. And Portland's pretty inexpensive, but I was just down in the Bay Area, and I was like, you want what? For a sandwich? Because I work on the sandwich.
For the sandwich scale of things.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, plans for next year, with the Roya problem. We're looking to, I'm planning right now, our next crop, and we're looking more for cup quality than anything else. I've been able to kind of hot dog and do these different, Pacamaras and different processes, and get a lot of really great results from natural bourbones and things like that. Mm-hmm. With the amount of pressure that both the farmers and the plants are under this year, I think it would be wise to focus on what you can get out of a bourbon than just necessarily what a process is, or to be different, to try and experiment. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to go pretty straightforward this next year, and kind of see it through, and hopefully it'll get better.
And maybe put some more coffee through Pinot Noir casks.
Yeah, Pinot Noir and Pinot Gris. I mean, unfortunately, Pinot Gris is usually done in metal, but I have a guy who says, all right, man, just hang on, 8 months, I'll have one saturated, and I think a Pinot Gris will be incredible. A lot of green apple. If it worked anything like this, the Manzano that Emilio Lopez Diaz at Cuatro M put together, if it worked anything like this, then we're stoked. Mm-hmm. It's just been a real success. And it was an experiment. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. And you're selling it upstairs. I mean, is it pretty popular?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Certainly, the aroma is stunning.
Yeah.
I haven't had the pleasure of trying it yet, but
yeah, it's like a natural, but it's a little bit different. I talked to somebody yesterday. It's like, oh, I can't stop drinking it. And I'm like, yeah, that's my problem with wine in general. Yeah. It's like it still has that quality to it. It's really it's got a lot of brightness, a lot of fruit. Mm-hmm. It's real crisp. So yeah, pretty happy with it.
Very cool. So before we go, as I like to ask, what is your favorite coffee that you're producing right now? Or
favorite coffee is the San Jorge Maracatura. Just because
I had that upstairs.
Yeah,
it is good.
Yeah, I worked with the farmer Tulio and convinced him to pull that out and separate it for me. Mm-hmm. And he did it, and that was a real special thing for me. On top of that, it scored incredibly well.
Right.
Lot of sugar, a lot of sweetness to it. Real delicate coffee. And then, it's tied with a lot of stuff, but I'd say the Rosario or the San Luis natural bourbon from the Menendez farms is just incredible. Mm-hmm. It's really mellow. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Yeah.
Back to the sandwiches.
Yeah. Right, totally. I just work in sandwich mode because I'm always hungry. And
awesome.
Yeah, and the Pacamaras, of course, are fun. But if I had to pick one, that would be
Maracatura.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you very much, Brandon.
Thank you, man.
It has been swell.
Yeah.